What is it that makes the all-new Hyundai Palisade Hybrid an incredible SUV? Is it the spacious interior that's comfy for the whole crew? Or the capability to go off-road? Maybe it's up to 600 plus miles of range? What if it's all of that and more? What is it then? The all-new Hyundai Palisade Hybrid. Is it the driver behind the wheel? No. Are you sure? The all-new Hyundai Palisade Hybrid. So much more than just another SUV. Visit HyundaiUSA.com or call 562-314-4603 for more details. Audible's romance collection has something to satisfy every side of you. When it comes to what kind of romance you're into, you don't have to choose just one. Fancy a dalliance with a duke, or maybe a steamy billionaire. You could find a book boyfriend in the city and another one tearing it up on the hockey field. And if nothing on this earth satisfies, you can always find love in another realm. Discover modern rom-coms from authors like Lily Chu and Ali Hazelwood, the latest romantasy series from Sarah J. Maas and Rebecca Yarros, plus Regency favorites like Bridgerton and Outlander. And of course, all the really steamy stuff. Your first great love story is free when you sign up for a free 30-day trial at audible.com/Wondery. That's audible.com/Wondery.
If you're shopping while working, eating, or even listening to this podcast, then you know and love the thrill of a deal. But are you getting the deal and cash back? Rakuten shoppers do. They get the brands they love, savings, and cash back. And you can get it too. Start getting cash back at your favorite stores like Target, Sephora, and even Expedia. Stack sales on top of cash back and feel what it's like to know you're maximizing the savings. It's easy to use, and you get your cash back sent to you through PayPal or check. The idea is simple. Stores pay Rakuten for sending them shoppers, and Rakuten shares the money with you as cash back. Download the free Rakuten app or go to Rakuten.com to start saving today. It's the most rewarding way to shop. That's RAKUTEN. Rakuten.com.
Eagle 98.1 Game Day is on the air.
Presented by Super Chevy and Yingling, your local Super Chevy dealers and Yingling Flight.
It's time to talk LSU football on the flagship home of the Tigers. Call 225-499-9898. It's Eagle 98.1 Game Day.
Now, live from downtown Baton Rouge, here's Charles Hannegrip and Richard Dixon.
LSU cruises by Southeastern by 46 to run their record to 4-0, and Oxford is in their sights. Good evening, everybody, and welcome to Eagle 98.1 Game Day. I'm Charles Hannegrip, along with former Tiger Richard Dixon. There wasn't much suspense in the way that you have for most games where you are in doubt as to who is going to win the game. That decision was made as soon as the pen was put to the contract. These two teams this is not a fair fight. We knew that going in. But you do have some things that you want to accomplish in a game like this for LSU, and LSU accomplished a lot of those things tonight. They wanted to go out and they wanted to seize control of this game and put it away in the first half, and they did. They wanted to go out and get some young players in the game in the second half, and they did. They wanted to, I think you used the term correction game, Richard. Work on some of the things that had plagued them through the first 3 weeks of the season. They sort of did. And more than anything else, the number one thing, if I didn't see anything else tonight, what I wanted to see, the one compelling point of this football game to me is Garrett Nussmeier healthy? From the Monday press conference when Brian Kelly disclosed that he had this torso injury, all throughout the week when he kind of doubled down on it, we were left to wonder, how bad is Garrett Nussmeier actually hurt? And then we started looking back at things, and some things started to make some sense. Some of the inaccurate throws, some of the underthrown balls, the fact that he was maybe in a little bit of pain, and to how they called some of these games. There were not a whole lot of down-the-field passes. But we wondered and we speculated about why Kelly would divulge this. He could have sidestepped the question very easily and never let anybody know. The fact that he did led us to believe, well, maybe Nussmeier's okay. No. We still would have sat him, but we didn't know. All right, so he doubled down on it by the end of the week, said, no, Nussmeier needs to play. We need to get into a rhythm. We need to accomplish some things offensively. So we went out to see what Garrett Nussmeier was going to look like. And Garrett Nussmeier, to me, looked like the Garrett Nussmeier that I expected from the beginning of the season. They threw the ball down the field more than they have in any game this season. And from that standpoint, it doesn't matter who you're playing. Can you step into a throw and drive the ball down the field? I thought he did that very well. Could he move? Could he reestablish that accuracy? I thought he did that very well. They were confident enough in him to put him under center for a couple of quarterback sneaks, and on top of everything else, he had his longest run as a Tiger of 26 yards. Even though they took the, in my opinion, unnecessary risk of putting him back out there in the third quarter, and he got popped and got up limping, and for just a brief moment, it's like, boy, that was really dumb. But he got up, finished the drive, and that was it for him on the night. I came away from this feeling that Garrett Nussmeier has indeed put whatever discomfort he had behind him based on what I saw on the field tonight.
Yeah, I mean, look, he zipped it around a little bit more. We still didn't have, our longest pass of the night was 27 yards, and that came from Michael Van Buren. That wasn't Garrett Nussmeier throwing it down the field. But like you said, he had a 26-yard run, looked like he was moving around pretty good. The issues I had with tonight, and it's hard to talk about issues when you win 56-10. But like I said, this is a correction game. This is high school varsity playing JV.
Yeah. Nothing's
going to impress me tonight. There's nothing I can get excited about tonight. It's more about the things that I don't want to see. And there were some issues I saw tonight, but look, we moved the ball around. We threw it quick. The backups got in there, and, we did what we said we want to do on Friday. We had a lot of backups playing early in the third quarter.
Yeah. The one thing that was going to come out of this game was I wanted to see how Garrett Nussmeier was going to look. Yeah. I expected the defense to play well, and they did. They allowed 27 yards in the first half. I expected there to be a wide gap between these teams in the score, and there was. This was going to be about how Nussmeier looked. And you're right, Rich, the longest pass that he completed, I think it was 25. Okay. But he threw the ball down the field more than that. There was one long pass to Nick Anderson.
We had some drops tonight.
Yeah, there were a couple of decent defensive plays on some longer balls. He was able to throw the ball down the field, and he was able to get some mustard on his throws. After the game, Garrett Nussmeier was asked how he was feeling in regards to the torso injury.
How do you feel, torso-wise, just overall health-wise? How do you feel?
Yeah, I'm getting better. So, we're getting better as an offense and just trying to baby steps, get forward, and keep going. So,
were you limited at all?
I'm not going to answer any questions on the torso or the injury or anything like that right now. I'm just kind of excited about the way we played tonight, excited about how we came together as a unit and kind of established that rhythm that we've been looking for all year.
They essentially asked him the same question twice, and the first time he answered and the second time he didn't. I was fully satisfied with the first answer. Yeah. I feel great. We're looking for rhythm as an offense. And he could have stopped right there. They followed up with, how to say, I'm not going to talk about it. Well, if he is in any kind of pain, I didn't see it. If he's favoring anything, I didn't see it. He looked like Garrett Nussmeier to me tonight.
No, 100%. I don't think – I'm with you. I didn't see anything that's showing where he's hurt. Look, when we talked about it making sense, there were throws he didn't make earlier in the year. There were decisions that we thought that, he could have zipped it in. He didn't, and it all made sense with the torso issue. But he rushed the ball in the Clemson game. Like they put him in harm's way, whatever, earlier on in the season. So this is one of those deals that we got to wait and see out. I'm not sure how I feel about it.
And you have to wonder if he had some semblance of this injury coming out of camp and may have re-aggravated it or made it a little bit worse in the Clemson game. That could have happened too. At any rate, it looks like that stuff is behind him based on what we saw tonight. Now, and of course the defense, 27 yards in the first half. We can stop talking.
It's the first time they gave up points in the second half this year? I know 2 of the games they didn't give up anything in the second half.
That sounds right. Yeah.
I think it's the first time we gave up second half points.
Okay. And when you're up 35, 42 points, you give up a touchdown with the backups in, that's no problem. So now you focus on the LSU run game. And you look at the numbers, 135 yards on 35 carries tonight, just under 4 yards a carry. And they scored 4 rushing touchdowns, 1 by each of the quarterbacks and 2 by Juwan Johnson. You had a great variance in the guys that carried the ball tonight. Your quarterbacks carried it 9 times. That's counting a couple of sacks. Johnson and Berry carried it 8 and 7 times. Barry and Brown had a 9-yard carry. Xavier Thomas had a 6-yard carry. That non-traditional run game that they're going to have to they're going to have to use the rest of the year, I think. We've got enough of a sample size now, Rich, and against 2 non-conference opponents that you should be physically superior to, can you just line up in the traditional run game and hammer the football straight at them? And the answer is no. I mean, a little bit, but you can't make a living doing that.
When I walked in here, I told you that we should be able to walk into a game like this, not throw the ball one time and win 56-10.
And average 6 to 7 yards a carry. No, they just don't do that.
You got Juwan Johnson with 8 carries, 43 yards. Barry, 7 carries, 28 yards. Durham, 7 carries, 17 yards. This is where I get frustrated just because every one of the guys on LSU's team that played tonight is better than the guys at Southeastern. Every one of those guys is recruited higher. They're bigger guys. They're faster guys. They're stronger guys. And I saw too many times where we got our butts whipped up front. And I know, I played in a different era, but it's just frustrating to me to watch us get tackled in the backfield multiple times and not get the push. Like it's not a no gain or a 1-yard gain or a 2-yard gain, but it is getting tackled in the backfield and getting pushed back by a team that you shouldn't be even on the same field with.
The staple of this offense is not going to be the traditional running game. I can say that with a great degree of confidence.
And it hasn't been.
It may get better as the season goes along, but they're going to have to do some different things. They're going to have to continue to use the wide receivers in the run game. They're going to have to try multiple backs. Juwan Johnson, I thought, looked very good in the short period of time that he was in the game. And, yeah, the quarterbacks are going to have to run a little bit. They're not going to just be able to line up and hammer the football, even against Southeastern, even against Louisiana Tech. No, they are going to have to do a little bit more than that. The line itself, I thought they were pretty good in pass protection the first 3 games. I didn't think they were as good tonight. And, yeah, people are going to ask about Weston Davis because he's the one that's most obviously struggling. Yeah. And, yeah, the first drive of the second half, they put him on the bench in favor of DJ Chester. He's what you got, okay? You went through an entire camp with him. You went through an entire spring with him, all the summer workouts. He's your guy. If you're going to go to another guy, Chester's a fill-in. But if you're going to take a longer look at somebody like a Carius Kern, who played most of the second half at that right tackle position, we'll go back and look at the film and see what he did. I know he had the 1 holding penalty, but I don't know that I don't know that you're going to be able to fix this to the point where you're just going to be able to line up and run the ball for 5-6 yards a pop.
My problem is where I don't have the confidence in fixing it is, what's the difference in this offensive line than last year? We had 4 guys drafted last year. We blocked pretty good in the pass game. I think we've given up 4 or 5 sacks so far this year, one or 2 tonight, 3 going into the night. We've been pretty solid in the pass game protection, but we didn't run the ball last year, didn't run the ball really the year before. To me, this is starting to become it's a stylistic play of what they're being asked to do, but we've had 12 guys that have played on this football field that can't get a push.
Well, there's one common denominator in the 3 teams, okay? And it's none of the players. So now what you're saying is the techniques.
It's a mentality It's a mentality to me because you have to want to beat somebody's ass to rush the ball. Rushing the ball is all about a fist fight, putting your face in somebody, blowing them off the ball, being dominant, showing your will, moving people. And I just haven't seen this group do it, whether it's this team the year before or the year before.
This is not offensively a physical team. This is a finesse team.
We've gone into the finesse.
This is a finesse team. Now, you can win a lot of games doing that because you've got a quarterback, you've got a lot of speed on the outside, you've got some talented skill position guys. But I can sense your frustration. If you're waiting for this team to become a physical bully, no. I think the running game can get better, but it's never going to be what this team hangs their hat on. They're going to hang their hat on the quarterback and
getting the ball outside
and big plays if they can get them in the passing game. You had 5 plays of 25 yards or 23 yards or more in the game tonight. So Okay, there were some chunk plays out there, but those chunk plays are probably going to be in the passing game. 499-9898 is the number to call on the Hooters hotline. Want to hear from you. LSU wins it 56-10 over Southeastern. It's Eagle 98.1 Game Day. Eagle 98.1 Game Day continues. LSU wins it by a score of 56-10. This was Brian Kelly after LSU's win to get them to 4-0.
A couple of opening remarks. I think we start with, we have a standard of the way we wanted to play, and I thought we upheld that standard. There's no perfection out there, but there was definitely some progress. So we made the progress that we were looking for. Now we got to build on that going into Ole Miss on the road against a very good football team. Again, the goal here was to play to a standard, not to the opposition. A lot of respect for Coach Selfo and what he's done and accomplished, but we had the better team and the better players, so it then becomes much more about your execution and the things you do, and I thought we did some pretty good things today, certainly. So with that, we'll
over 3 times as many first downs and a total yardage edge 530 to 204. I would say they accomplished that. All right, let's go to the Hooters hotline. Start things off with Ross and Bunky. Ross, welcome into the show.
Charlie, I know you love these immediate post-game sessions, but what's going on with the offense, man?
Well,
joking.
Okay. I was going to tell you they scored 8 touchdowns and 9 drives, but
shout out to my guy Michael Cobble. But in all seriousness, I know it was a Southeastern game, so I take everything for what it's worth. But are Juwan Johnson and Xavion mixed in our best option at running back right now? And what do you see them doing against Ole Miss?
Rich,
I said Xavion's our best running back.
Yeah, you said that several weeks ago. Yeah,
and I see a lot of similar with Juwan. I mean, they're just very shifty guys. They're guys that are used to making plays from the bubble, guys that are making somebody miss on the outside. And I think in the style of run game that where we can be successful, those guys are best. I think Caden Durham is a better true running back than either one of them, but we don't have a true running game. We don't have a power one-step game where you're going to get a one-step cut, get up the field because you got to push. You got offensive linemen that are creating gaps, and you're going to hit the seam and break a tackle. That's not it right now. We got to have guys that can make a guy miss in the backfield and then get up the field.
I was encouraged by the fact they went back under center and short yardage tonight. Yeah. I think that's a component of this. They're really going to have to use every pitch in the run game, every pitch that they've got. It can be Durham and Johnson as the primary tailbacks. It can be a little bit of change of pace with Harlem Berry. It'll give you some fresh legs. It can be Xavion Thomas more than once a game. It can be a Barry and Brown. He got the one carry tonight on the end around. You may even incorporate a few more carries for Caleb Jackson because he's the one really heavy.
He looked better tonight. He looked a little bit more flexible, moved a little bit better tonight.
He's the one heavy duty back that you've got. And then the quarterback sneak on 3rd and short, 4th and short, that's got to be a component of this too. And who knows? Michael Van Buren may get some snaps here and there.
Look good.
Just to give you that look that, hey, if this cat comes in the game, if 11's in the game,
he can pull it.
And he actually threw the ball better than
10 or 12. I mean, I liked Michael Van Buren last year at Mississippi State. I watch a lot of Mississippi State because that's where my dad played. And I was excited when we got him because I thought his upside is really good.
He had some big games last year for Mississippi State. He had 306 yards at Georgia. That was a game. Mississippi State was not good last year, but they were in that game. They lost that game by 10.
Yeah.
That was in Athens. He had 280 yards at Ole Miss. Ole Miss had some defensive personnel last year. He had 309 yards at Arkansas. That was a game that they got blown out in, but he played pretty well. He threw 3 touchdown passes at Texas A&M. That was a 10-point loss. So he had some games last year where the numbers were more than respectable.
He was 10 of 12 tonight with the drop, so really he should have maybe missed one throw.
And that was a deep ball.
It was a deep ball that hit somebody in the hands, like where he's a guy that's slithery. Like he moves well.
You going to give him a drop on that? At that 40-yard heave, you going to give him a drop? Man, you tough grader.
I would have caught it.
Okay.
But
Yeah. 499-9898 is the number on the Hooters hotline. Rob is in Baton Rouge. Rob, welcome into the show.
Hey, thank you very much. I appreciate, love watching you or listening to your program, breaking down the film and all that. My question or my comments is, were either of y'all at the game?
Richard, you were.
I was there up until kickoff.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I wasn't in the stadium. No.
During the first half, I was there through the first half and left shortly after that because I'm old. But whoever controls the sound, the piped-in music, they get a big F tonight. They were playing music or piping in that music over the band that was playing in the stands. And can it be called a penalty if that music is playing, even the opposite band, whatever, when the other team comes to the line and gets ready? I saw the play clock. They placed the ball down. We were walking up to the line. The music is still going on. 6 seconds went off the play clock. It caused us a penalty at the end of the first half. We were down inside the 10-yard line, whatever. We had a motion penalty because we came up to the line and that music was going for like 6 seconds after they placed the ball. It was down to 19 seconds. And I don't know, can somebody talk to the people there to at least pay attention? And, it's kind of rude for the other team, our team. So
I think there is a
rule. You can't
regulation.
play piped in music while the offense is on the field. Now, what he's saying is LSU was on there. Brian Kelly's got to make that argument.
It was on both teams, both of the offenses. When it came up, it happened to us, and it was happening to them as well. And I was looking at the play clock, and it was going down to 19 seconds.
I'll make an inquiry. How's that? The stuff.
I would appreciate that.
Thank you for the call. We
play with louder music in practice. I mean, that's what we have. All those speakers sitting on the side. The music, I'm not going to get into why we had issues on the line of scrimmage. I get what he's saying, and it is usually a penalty, especially if we're doing that while Southeastern's on and the coaches want to make a complaint, they're going to say something.
I've taken enough calls over the years on the piped-in music to know that there is no middle ground. You either love it or you hate it.
Yeah.
And it probably has a lot to do. He said, I'm old. I don't know how old he is. But generally, when I started going to LSU games in the 80s, it was just the band.
Yeah.
Okay? So if you're of my age, you grew up with the band, you like the band, you want to listen to the band, you don't want to listen to piped-in music. If you're younger, you may want to listen to the piped-in music, and you don't want to listen to the band except for pregame or whatever. So that's a personal preference. But there is a rule there with the piped-in music and when you can do it, when you can't. The other thing I would tell you is that, to my knowledge, that stuff comes through the scoreboard, right?
Yeah.
Okay. They run the scoreboard across the street. That the scoreboard master control, mission control, is in the administration building.
I did not realize that.
Yeah, it's now there's clock operator and all that stuff, but the nuts and bolts of this big, it looks like NASA. Okay, I've been in the room. That's across the street. So, for whatever that's worth.
Yeah.
499-9898 is the number to call. Jeremy is next. Jeremy, welcome into the show.
Good evening, fellas. I just wanted to know who our backup center is because I think Chester's out for next week or just the next week, the first half?
It's next week, the first half. Boy, that is there's a walk-on that was running with the second unit, and I'm trying to remember his name. But I would imagine that there will be somebody else taking snaps at backup center this week?
That's a great question. I haven't thought about it that far.
Thompson played guard and tackle at Northwestern, but I don't think he played any center. And then
did Cohen Eccles get any center snaps in the camp?
He did, I didn't see it. That's an outstanding question. That might be a real good one for Brian Kelly in the Monday.
Who was your backup center going into the game?
Yeah, who will be your backup center since DJ Chester is going to be out? And
is that the first targeting call on an offensive line that you can remember?
I'm trying to remember what team it was. I remember a guy came in late, head down, or maybe I'm thinking about Richie Incognito in the NFL. Came in and basically speared a guy.
I haven't heard in a long time.
Well, he was kind of a dirty player.
He's a little psycho.
He, it might have been him, might have been something. Maybe I'm misremembering, but guy, I think it was they called him spearing. They didn't call it targeting.
I've seen
in the NFL.
spearing on offensive linemen
where they're coming in to try and move the pile at the end, and they'll get hit for a late hit. But targeting, no.
That's the first for me.
And
that was another chicken crap call.
Hate the rule.
It's terrible.
The rule. 499-9898 is the number to call. LSU wins at 56-10. Back with more of your phone calls. This is Eagle 98.1 Game Day. Eagle 98.1 Game Day continues. LSU wins it by a score of 56-10. 499-9898 is the number to call on the Hooters hotline. Charlie is in Lafayette. Charlie, welcome into the show.
Hey, how you guys doing tonight?
Good.
Great. I enjoy listening to y'all every week, and I enjoy listening to Richard and breaking it down and everything. One of the things I noticed in the game, and I didn't go to the game tonight. I stayed home, and I watched it on TV. But a couple of things Jordan Rodgers pointed out. Now, there are issues with the offensive line, but they also showed plays that they were showing plays against Florida, and a play tonight. Caden Durham, if he would just follow his blocks instead of cutting back too quickly, he's passing up where he can make some good, significant runs. The offensive line's done its job in giving him a hole, but he finds a way. He'll sometimes get impatient and cut back in. He'll just make a bad decision. But I noticed Juwan Johnson doesn't do that. I think he is I find him to be a more disciplined runner. So and then I think that like when you start off the game and you throw and Nussmeier throws the ball behind Caden Durham on the first play of the game, or when you were dropping some passes. Now they got it in sync, but a lot of it has to do with execution. But that's kind of what I just noticed. Just the 2 or 3 plays when to break that down. So sometimes it's the offensive line, sometimes it's not. So that's just kind of what I saw tonight.
Thank you, Charlie. Caden Durham, by the way, is going to have an MRI on Monday. The early prognosis is this is a sprained ankle. We'll see how severe that is. Is it worth, though, asking Rich if he's a little gun-shy because there hasn't been a hell of a lot of room for him to run?
I'm going to go ahead and jump to what he's talking about because I saw that on the film when they're talking about the Florida plays. That's deceiving. These are inside zone run plays where the play is supposed to hit inside. And they're showing, well, if he stayed outside, he could have made – that's not how the play was designed. Caden Durham is supposed to stretch, then hit it inside. He was doing what was designed by the play. And so I get what he saw on TV and what everybody saw because I saw the same thing. But that's not how the play was designed. A stretch zone read, you're supposed to stretch the ball out, then cut it back inside. And what I've said is that's not where we're strong at right now. We're not creating great cutback lanes. We're not pushing the ball back. We're not cutting guys off on the backside. We're not creating those lanes to where you press it to the side and then one step cut inside. And that's where I said Juwan Johnson and Xavier Thomas are probably better right now because they're shifty. They're moving around and they're finding their own holes instead of running the traditional gap.
We had on the film study, which you check out on YouTube, Handicast Film Study, the first 2 plays that we looked at this past week were both Caden Durham runs. One of them was effective, the other one wasn't. This is in the first 5 minutes of the game last week. And the first play, he does cut back. There is room, and it was their first play from scrimmage. As a matter of fact, they make 6 yards. Okay, it's perfectly acceptable first down play. The next one, which was on the next drive, was
same drive, 3rd and 1.
Third and 1. No, it was the next. It was the next drive.
4 plays later. No, it was part of the same drive.
Okay, because they didn't make a first down, and he ends up losing yards because nobody blocked anybody basically on that side. But they were trying to run the same doggone thing.
It's the same play that they showed against Florida. That first play of the game, it's the exact same thing. It's a zone. It's called a zone stretch. You are widening the field, trying to create a cutback lane, and it's not always a gap; it's a B gap. They have options where to cut back, but they're not getting the push through. Like you're stretching at one side, but you're not getting the cutoffs and the cutbacks on the play, and it's taking a more shifty back to find those holes right now.
They did throw out the idea of semi-formation last week because that was the run that put the game away at the end, and Pyburn ended up going in there to play the fullback. I didn't see any of that tonight. I don't know that it's plausible that they can make that a portion of this offense, because to do that you got to practice it. You got to be under center enough to practice it. I don't know that they're doing that.
Like I went back and watched that play. I loved it. Loved the idea of it.
Yeah.
We didn't blow anybody off the ball on that one other than Pyburn and Bauer Sharp. And it was a numbers game. We had the numbers at the outside. It hit for a big run, 50-something yards. But it wasn't like we lined up in there and blew everybody off the ball there either.
I don't know that they've got enough time to develop that. Okay, I don't mind it as a one-off, and if they had been doing that the whole time, but to be able to put that in a lot, like you say, you don't have a fullback, you don't have a true fullback, so you're going with either a tight end or, in this case, a defensive lineman, and you got to be under center, and they're just not under center very much. Now, what I was encouraged, the quarterback sneak, worked against Clemson, worked tonight. It's
worked every time we've run it so far.
Well, it's a really good play. There's a great story about Mike Ditka when he became the head coach of the Bears, and it was one of his first games, and they got stuffed on 3rd and 1 and 4th and 1 multiple times. They kept handing the ball to Walter Payton, and everybody knew Walter Payton was going to get the ball, and there was no room for him to run. And so George Halas, who was still alive at the time, sent 3 quarterback sneak designs down to Ditka's office the next day, and they handed it to Ditka. He's like, "What is this?" And he said, "Mr. Halas would like you to look at how to run the quarterback sneak." And goes, "Oh, well, if Mr. Halas sent it, then I should consider that." It's a really effective play, and Nussmeier's good enough to run it.
When you got a good center, and we have a really good center, I like everything he's doing. And if you can get one guy to get a push, you can get 2 feet. I mean, when it's a 3rd and short, I mean, you can get that. You should be able to get a push against Southeastern, regardless any part of it.
And this isn't tush push. This is a quarterback sneak. No. I don't like the tush push. I think it's
a dangerous play to me.
I think it's a rugby play more so than a football play. But the quarterback sneak, I mean, Quaker zero. That's what we used to call it. Quaker zero on one, or Quaker zero on pressure. Yeah, just those kind of things. It's hard to stop for 3 feet, man.
Yeah, I mean, when I played at LSU, it was there wasn't a call. Like you heard Matt and Brett Helms, it was called Ricebird. Brett Helms played for the Stuttgart Ricebirds. So when we said Ricebird, QB sneak.
Okay. Yeah.
So you just got up there.
How many times did it work?
Every time. I mean, you looked around. It was a quick play, it was before no huddle. You get into a short yard situation, and Matt looked at the coach. It was Ricebird. We knew everything was going on.
And one time a season, you can fake it.
Yeah.
You can duck your head down like you're about to stick it in there, take 2 steps back, and if it works, you have a guy out there all by his lonesome. Maybe even a tight end.
Yeah, I love it.
We're brought to you by, speaking of, did you say Ricebird?
Ricebird.
Ricebird.
Red-winged blackbird in Arkansas and the rice fields, they call them Ricebirds.
Okay, well, as long as they're using Supreme Rice, that's all.
Rice.
That's all I'm worried about. Supreme Rice down in Southwest Louisiana since the 1930s. All of our Supreme Rice grown, milled, and processed down in Southwest Louisiana. So when you buy Supreme Rice, you're supporting our Louisiana farmers, and you're going to get a great product at a superb price. Pick out the long grain, the medium grain, the brown, the jasmine, and the parboiled rice, plus the new Low glycemic rice is perfect for diabetics. So if you're going out tailgating, your jambalayas, your etouffees, your red beans, your white beans, make it with Supreme Rice. For more, and pick it up at all your AG food stores. Come to Rouse's, see us for pregame. Pick up some Supreme Rice on your way into campus. For more information and great recipes, head to the website, supremerice.com. This is Eagle 98.1 Game Day. Eagle 98.1 Game Day continues. Hooters Hotline is open 499-9898. LSU wins it 56-10. Rich, when we left pregame, I was thinking to myself, at the end of the night, this could be pretty ugly. And the reason I said that was at the time Syracuse was beating Clemson by 20 points.
Yeah.
They end up winning the game by 13 points. Clemson's now 1-3. I wouldn't, in any universe, have picked that. When LSU got out of there on opening night, I said, okay, that's a good win. That'll hold up all year. And that game took forever because there was long delay at halftime with the weather. So it went on throughout the entire show. By the time when we finished, they still weren't done with the game, and so they were in control throughout. They were up 24-14 at the half. Steve Angeli, who's off to a terrific start, but unfortunately hurt himself today, and it was a non-contact injury, so it didn't look good. Ricky Collins, local product, who was with LSU, came in and finished up the game through a touchdown pass. And Syracuse wins the game 34-21. And I'm thinking to myself, man, if Florida gets blown out tonight, we're going to be sitting there looking at each other going, what's really on LSU's resume? If you got 2 1-3 teams. And you do have 2 1-3 teams. But I felt better about it. Tell me if I'm just Pollyanna here or if there's something to this. And feel free to call me out and say, no, there's nothing on the resume.
There's nothing on the resume.
All right. Well, hang on. LSU held Clemson at 261 yards. All right. That's a pretty good deal. In a loss to Georgia Tech, Clemson had 381 yards.
Are we talking about defense?
We're talking about the team. So
okay.
This is I understand that this is part of the equation. It's not the whole equation. But LSU held them to 261. Georgia Tech held them. They rolled up 381. In that loss, they lost on the last play of the game. They had 503 yards of total offense today against Syracuse. So is it okay to say that the Clemson offense, I know they scored only 21 points today, but, I mean, 500 yards of offense is 500 yards of offense. LSU held them to about half of that. That's good, right?
Yeah, that's not where my mind goes. I think our defense is elite.
Okay.
Syracuse put up, what do you say, 34 points on them?
Yes.
Okay. Georgia Tech put up 24, 27.
I think it was 20. It was 24-21 was the final.
Okay, so I get what you're saying, and look, I will put our defense against any offense out there right now. I feel really good about them, but at some point we got to score more. We're gonna get into a point to where it's gonna be a 17-24 game where the defense has done all they can do. You got to go out and score points.
All right. Work with me a little bit.
Okay.
Here. Now you fast forward to this Florida game tonight, and Miami is up early, 10-0, and then 13-0, and Florida got 1 first down in the whole first half. 1. It's 7 for the game, but they were in this thing. It was 13-7 going into the fourth quarter. So the Florida defense. Carson Beck had 160 yards. He's a favorite for the Heisman, him and Mateer today, going into today. 160 yards. He didn't throw a touchdown pass. He threw 1 interception. Miami ran for 184 yards, but it took them 46 carries to do it. They had the ball the whole damn game because Florida couldn't get a first down. But they had to get it 4 yards at a time until Florida finally ran out of gas in the fourth quarter, and Miami got 13 points to make it look better. But Miami had the ball for 36 minutes, man. I mean, Florida couldn't move the ball at all. So that was against Florida. They were operating against a good defense. So the offense that didn't look great last week, it's a pretty good defense on the other side. because Florida's now done it against Miami. Clemson has put up big numbers against 2 other schools in their conference. Am I reaching? Is this Pollyanna?
A little bit.
Okay.
I'd say reaching a little bit. Look, Miami is a hot name with Carson Beck, but I watched them, and I know Carson Beck wasn't there last year. They eventually do something stupid. They let teams get on them.
Mario Cristobal as a game day coach, leaves a lot to be desired. Okay, he's a wonderful recruiter, good program manager. The kids love him. Game day coach,
the craziest guy to ever recruited me. He recruited me to Miami when he was a tight end coach in Miami, and I was a young kid from South Mississippi that didn't hear. My parents didn't cuss a lot, and I heard more cuss words in my first phone conversation with Mario Cristobal than I'd ever heard in my life. But look, I think LSU is a good football team. They have a great defense. I think they have great pieces on offense. I just don't think the offense has found themselves yet.
They haven't. They definitely have. Step in the right direction tonight, at least? I mean, can you tell?
I can't tell against Southeastern, really. I mean, look, that's a game, like I told you, it's 56-10, and I don't feel any better. You played your JV team. That's a team that you should beat all the time. Your backup should beat Southeastern by that much.
And I can tell that the quarterback's healthy.
Yeah, the quarterback's healthy.
I wake up tomorrow morning and have breakfast, and somebody calls and says, "What did you think of the game?" I said, "I think the quarterback's healthy," and we can go. We can go
with that. Yeah. I think with what we did with him being healthy, we can win any game this year if the defense plays great.
You know, I went to a lot of trouble to get those stats to make this look good. You just rained on my whole parade there. 499-9898 is the number in the Hooters hotline. Jules is in Abbeville. Jules, welcome into the show.
Hey, fellas. How's it going?
Good.
Hey, I'm one of those old guys. I'll be 70 on Thursday.
Happy birthday.
Thank you very much, Charles. And when I started going back in the 60s, it was the game and the band. And to be honest with you, even if I felt up to it, I wouldn't be interested in going to a sporting event today because of all that piped-in music and the lights and all of that. It's just, the game was to entertain. But anyway, another thing, I don't like the white pants. I wish they would wear the yellow pants. I didn't see a lot of the game because I'm watching my Red Sox. We're in the last week, Charlie, so you can't blame me for that.
Okay.
But I did see some of the second half with Van Buren, and I definitely liked what I saw. And then I'm going to follow that up on, I'd rather see them play Tulane than play Southeastern. I know Tulane got a home game from OU and went up there. Are they getting a home game from Ole Miss, or did they play them at home last year?
They did.
Ole Miss played them in.
Yeah, they played them in New Orleans last year.
And is that why LSU won't schedule them?
LSU had a deal when Skip Bertman was the AD. They made a 4-for-1 deal, which meant Tulane was going to come to Baton Rouge 4 times, and LSU was going to go there once. And that was supposed to run 2 cycles. It was supposed to run 10 years. It didn't even come close. I think they played 2 games here and 1 game in New Orleans, which, Richard, you played in, was 2007, and then they canceled the series.
I want to say I played them in Baton Rouge my freshman year. Sophomore year, we played in the Dome. I don't know if I played them.
It might only been 2 games in that series. So that was the idea. The series came to an end on an every year basis when LSU was just like, we're not going to go to New Orleans every other year. We're not going to give up that home game.
Right.
I still think that would be the case. They would not play Tulane a 1-for-1 home and home, and I don't know if Tulane would give them 2-for-1 or certainly not any more than that. So that may just be at an impasse. They're playing the state schools because this is
I prefer them to play the state schools.
If they have to play games like this, and I would prefer that these games went away altogether. But if they have to play games like this against FCS schools, I would prefer they play them against the in-state schools. And in addition to the wonderful PR gesture of keeping the money in-state, which sounds wonderful. Yeah. Oh, great, thank you. We want to keep the money in-state. Let's get down to what this works for LSU. They have to pay Southeastern less than they would have to pay.
They're paying $750,000.
South Dakota, or something like that. They don't have to fly in. They don't have to pay for hotel rooms. So
they bust in today for the game.
They can bust Southeastern in. Southern came across town. I don't remember if Grambling stayed overnight or they bust back to Grambling last year. It's less, than bringing in somebody that has to fly and do all that stuff. So it helps both schools. But honestly, in a perfect world, we would do away with this thing. What did I say on Friday? If I could do anything with the schedule, schedule's coming out Tuesday.
Yeah.
Big deal, right? I would go back to an 11-game schedule and play 9 games in the SEC. I'd play one power conference school somewhere else, and I'd play Tulane every year. And I'd do away with the FBS against FCS schools. That has absolutely zero chance of ever happening. Okay, but that's what I would do. I'm happy that they're going to 9 games. I'm happy that we're going to have one less of these games. But I don't know that we'll ever get away from them completely. So as long as you're doing them, keep the money in state and keep it. It's a $750,000 check. We looked it up on Friday. This is roughly 5% of Southeastern's budget, athletic budget. That's no small thing, that pays for a lot of expenses. So if we have to endure these things, let's keep it to once a year.
I called it a JV game earlier. Like, I wish it got to the point to where Southeastern, UL, La Tech, those were like when you went to the recruiting portal. Bring them in. Like, I would love to where like you're trying to help those guys out. Go recruit these guys that you don't think are ready for LSU yet, but push them to in-state schools.
But there's a big difference between Southeastern and Tulane.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, huge difference.
Tulane's got resources. Just the scholarships by themselves would be plenty, but there's way more resources there. There's way more resources at Lafayette than there are at Southeastern. There's way more resources at Louisiana Tech than, say, at McNeese. I mean, if you just stopped with the scholarships, that would be enough. But there's more, right?
Oh, yeah.
So if you're going to play the FCS schools, go ahead and play the ones in state. But I would prefer the. And look, Frank Selfo, I thought, was very candid when he was on with Matt in the week. He's like, man, I'm not. This is not what we want necessarily. This game. He goes, I'm not. I don't like this game, but this is part of
necessary evil.
This is part of my job. I have to. There's nowhere else I can pick up this kind of check for 3 hours of football. So I got to do it.
Yeah.
499-9898 is the number to call. LSU wins it by a score of 56-10. This is Eagle 98.1 Game Day. Eagle 98.1 Game Day continues. LSU wins it 56-10 over Southeastern. 499-9898 on the Hooters hotline. Richie is in Mandeville. Richie, welcome into the show.
Hey, thanks, guys. Charlie, I'm going to be thinking about you Tuesday night. I plan on having a toast because I know you are going to wear a tux.
Yeah.
Rent a banquet hall and probably take a limo to the celebration Tuesday night.
Yeah.
In all seriousness, I know the best part about it you probably like is that they're calling these games annuals and not permanent, and so that's why Charlie, so that they can look at it in 4 years and make sure it's balanced, right?
That's the idea, yes.
I'll be thinking about you, buddy.
All right, thanks, Richie. I appreciate it. For those of you who don't know what he's talking about, the league is going to announce everybody's annual opponents on
Scott
Tuesday
Woodward
nights.
knows.
Yeah, that was. I thought that was kind of ridiculous. I like Brian Kelly. I think he's a really smart guy. But every now and then he says something. It's like, come on, man. And when he said, was it on his coach's show?
He said Scott Woodward knows, but he hadn't told me.
Right. Come on, like you don't know. They're talking about geography. They're talking about traditional rivals and the strength of your relative opponents. Like, let me ask you, who do you think is a more dangerous opponent, Ole Miss or Texas A&M, on a yearly basis? A&M, okay. How many 10-win seasons has Ole Miss had in the last 10 years?
2.
4.
4.
How many has A&M had?
1.
None. So if you and I would have answered it the same way you did, is that A&M is a higher resource, more dangerous opponent, but the record doesn't reflect that, and that's through 2 coaches. That's not just one coach at Ole Miss. I could ask you the same question over the last 5 years about Ole Miss and Auburn. Who is the more traditional power?
Auburn
by far, but in the last 5 years, it's Ole Miss. And this was the thing that got in my craw for all these years about Florida and Tennessee, that, well, they're equal. Look at the history. Well, I don't want to look at the history from, back to when, General Nealon was coaching, okay? I need to look at something that's a little bit more modern. And for 15 years, Alabama ran over Tennessee like an 18-wheel truck. And my good friend Glenn Gilbo said, they're Florida and Tennessee, they're pretty much it. So I had to break out the stats on him. I said, no, I'm sorry. Since 92, Florida's won 70% of their league games, and Tennessee's won 56%. And since 1992, Tennessee's won the league twice, and Florida's won it 8 times. And Tennessee's won 1 national championship, and Florida's won 3. And if I really wanted to belabor the point, I'd say that since 1998, we're talking about better than a quarter of a century, Tennessee hasn't won the league, hasn't won a national championship. And Florida's won multiple of
Is the
both.
only time they made it to the SEC championship when we beat them in 2007?
No, they made it in 97 and 98, and they won it they won the whole thing in 98. So they won the league twice, okay, since you went to that format. Now, they've been to the SEC championship game other times. LSU beat them in 01. LSU beat them in 07. But the point is that Florida and Tennessee over a 20-year period it's not really close,
no.
Okay? Over a 10-year period, it's not really close. But if you go for the last 4 years, well, now Tennessee's back in the conversation because Napier is below 500 now by 2 games, I think. So I'm all for keeping this. Look, if Tennessee rises back to what they once were over a period of time, then great. If Florida stays in this hole, which I don't think they will, then that's fine. I thought when they announced this months ago they were going to go to 9 games, that this was going to be a 10-year deal because that's what it was in 92, that's what it was in 02, and that's what it was in 12. Now you tell me it's going to be a 4-year deal? Well, hell, now you're finally speaking my language.
Yeah.
Now you can finally keep this thing somewhat balanced, somewhat fair. Now, I don't think you should have 3 permanent opponents or 3 annual opponents. I think you should have 1, and the other 8 should rotate. But I lost that argument. Okay, so I'll deal with this. But no, you're going to stick. Ole Miss is now a legitimate threat to beat you every year.
Yeah.
They probably should have beat you last year. Okay. Well, this is not the same thing as so. Ole Miss has got a permanent opponent is Vanderbilt. Your permanent opponent is Florida. Well, tell me please how that's fair.
Yeah.
Okay. And you got to play. You got to play somebody. I get it. So you're going to rotate these things, and if you rotate them, well, then if you've got a tough schedule one year, that's just how it fell, okay? If you pick up Georgia and Texas in the same year or Alabama and a good Florida team or whoever, okay, well, that's how that goes. Don't make it every year. That was my big argument against this thing, and I know you guys love the Florida game. And, by the way, it's not like these games are going away forever.
Yeah.
Okay? You may not play. I'm not expecting Alabama to be one of the 3. I'll be very surprised if they are. I think the odds-on favorites are
Ole Miss, A&M.
Ole Miss, A&M, and Arkansas. But I will tell you that if Ole Miss and A&M, I think, are going to be there. I'll be shocked if either one of them. I think the third one's going to be Arkansas, which that's a gift for LSU. If they get A&M, Ole Miss, and Arkansas, and you steer around Alabama, and you steer around Florida, and you steer around Texas, well, that's a win. I don't even consider that really completely fair. I think that's too advantageous for LSU. But if you take Arkansas out and you plug in Oklahoma, well, now that's more, I think, amenable. If you take out Arkansas and plug in Florida, which you've got the long history. They've played every year since 71, but geographically it's not, So I think one of those 2 things is going to happen. I think it's going to be A&M and Ole Miss and either Arkansas or Oklahoma is the other one.
I get what you're saying about it's more advantageous. Arkansas doesn't sound flashy, but I feel like it's always a close game. And it's always been a tough game for LSU. We were way better than them all 4 years I played, and they beat us in double overtime the year we won the national championship. Every game seemed pretty close. There's something about these SEC games where it doesn't I can get you going into the history, but some of the more brutal games I played against were Mississippi State. We beat them every time, but that was a physical game. They got a hold of us. Once you get into this level of competition, we lost to Kentucky. I mean, the SEC is the SEC for a reason.
All of these schools have resources now. You have revenue sharing in NIL.
The only one that never made sense to me was Vanderbilt. Vanderbilt was a dog walk. They're playing really good right now. They were good last year. But like you said, there's now resources. You can get guys into your program.
Okay, let's play along there for a second and say, all right, all 15 teams that you have to play, all are capable of beating you, all have similar resources there. Let's pretend like they're all the same. You should still rotate. Yeah. Because you should never go 10 years in between.
There's not 12 teams in the league anymore.
Yeah, you should never go 10 years without playing a team. I mean, Georgia still hasn't been to A&M.
Yeah. I mean, how long did it take for LSU to get to Missouri? It was a long time.
It was. They ended up having to go the COVID year, but that was a one-off schedule.
Yeah, I mean, look, the expanded SEC this is no longer the traditional SEC we talked about. This isn't the group, the 12 teams it was. It's different. I thought that when I played, the only way you could visit every team is if you redshirted. The only team in the SEC I never played at was Vanderbilt. But there was something about being able to play everywhere. Like it was.
You should.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of the things you look forward to.
Especially if you have an elite player, okay? Peyton Manning never played at LSU. Bo Jackson never played at LSU. Herschel Walker never played at LSU. Now, the schedules were different back in the 80s, but none of those – these are three of the best players that have ever come through the league. On the other hand, we saw Tebow 4 times, okay? So and saw Johnny Manziel twice, in his time at Texas A&M. But you shouldn't go these long gaps. It should never be a deal where you're going 10 years without that. Otherwise, there was a time where LSU had played Troy more times than they had played South Carolina. That shouldn't happen. So I'm really excited about Tuesday night. I think that it's long overdue. I'm excited that the rotation is going to keep everybody. You're going to play everybody in a reasonable amount of time. I'm happy that I think this is more fair. I'm happy that they're going to review this every 4 years and not every 10 years. I like all of those things. And more than anything else, I'm happy that a conference game is replacing a lousy non-conference game, because that's what this is replacing. This is not going to if this was replacing the power conference opponent, the power non-conference opponent, the Clemson game, the USC game, stuff like that, well, then it's a wash. No, this is going to replace the Western Kentuckys of the world. Yeah. This is good football for bad football. So I'm all for it. Tuesday, big day.
Text me Tuesday night. I'm going to be somewhere in the marsh.
Yeah.
Not going to have a TV anywhere close, so just shoot me a text.
I'll send you a text. Right. It's not a problem. Let me ask you about Ole Miss before we move on here. They win today 45-10 against Tulane. They had that wild game with Arkansas a week ago that they managed to come out on top. I thought that Tulane would play them competitively in this game. I thought that they even had a chance to sneak up on them because of a sandwich spot for Ole Miss between the Arkansas free-for-all last week and LSU coming in next week, and I was dead wrong on that. Ole Miss completely blew them out of the park, and it was 23-3 at halftime. Game was over. They played better defense today, but they've been a little shaky on defense. But that offense is real. And I believe they started Trinidad Chambliss today, the backup quarterback. I believe that right now he is better than Austin Simmons, who was their starter at the beginning of the season. Chambliss threw for 307 yards today and ran for 112.
I just looked at that. He's leading rusher.
The leading rusher and and of course he threw for over 300 yards. And the biggest number for him is that he has not, in the 3 games that he has played in, turned the ball over. Simmons turned the ball over. He threw 4 interceptions in the first 5 quarters that he played this year. So I think you've got a better quarterback, and Simmons may have the stronger arm of the two. He throws the ball with he reminds me a lot of Brandon Harris.
Yeah.
Brandon Harris had a very, very strong arm, but he didn't have any touch. Those swing passes out of the backfield like to knock the guys over. They were thrown so hard. That's how Simmons throws. And he's not a bad quarterback, but he was turning the ball over. Chambliss throws the ball with incredible touch. His arms may not be quite as strong, but it's plenty strong enough. And this kid played at Ferris State, which, who the hell knows where Ferris State is? Well, I do because I looked it up, but I didn't know. It's in Michigan. They won the national championship last year. In fact, they won the national championship in Division II 3 of the last 4 years. This kid's a winner.
Yeah.
Okay? This kid played for a program that is used to winning. I was listening to postgame with Hester and Chris, and they were talking about, which quarterback we're going to see next week. And you know what? My money, Chambliss is better.
Yeah.
I don't know who they're going to start. I don't know if Simmons is healthy enough to play next week, but Chambliss is a better quarterback. I mean, statistically, he's a better quarterback. My eyes watching that game today, he's a better quarterback.
I mean, that's like Tulane. Who else do they play? Arkansas, Kentucky. I mean, to me, that was some of the cleanest offense Ole Miss has played. You get a guy that rushes for 112 yards, throw for over 300. Pretty solid. He's played in all 4 games. He didn't throw the ball against Kentucky. He came into that game late. They won all 4 of those games. He's completing 71% of his passes. He hasn't thrown an interception. He ran for over 110 yards today. He ran for 62 against Arkansas, and 2 of those were for touchdowns. This guy's dangerous. Yeah, and he's a very dangerous quarterback. And if they wanted to put him back to second string, that'd be just fine. Go for it. I think they're a better team with him as quarterback, and I think Simmons is a talent, but I think Chambliss is better. I think he provides more of a threat, and what we talk about is having to worry about a QB run game. Look, throwing for 300 and running for 100 is pretty awesome. I mean, that doesn't happen every weekend in the SEC. He's a guy that they felt very comfortable. Everybody thought this Tulane Ole Miss game was going to be close. I did. Everybody I talked to, it was a game that we wanted to watch, and it was a blowout. Tulane had 2 Power 5 wins already. Yeah. Northwestern and Duke. I understand it's not Ohio State and Texas, but Ole Miss and Tulane were a close game. I felt like last year. Oh, it was. It was a really close game. Mensa made one bad play last year in that game. He took a bad sack and he lost the ball. And Ole Miss ended up scoring out of that. And that was the difference in the ball game. No. Other than that, it's pretty even. And Tulane had a real chance to win it. We'll take a break, come back here. LSU wins it 56-10. This is Eagle 98.1 Game Day.
Eagle 98.1 Game Day. Stat Check. Presented by Luba Workers Comp. Luba Workers Comp. Delivering genuine dependability.
Here's your yardstick. LSU 32 first downs to 10 for Southeastern. Total yards 530 for the Tigers, 204 for the Lions. 395 yards through the air for the home team, 116 for the visitors. Rushing yards 135 for LSU on 35 carries, 3.9 yards per carry. That number really should be higher. 88 yards rushing for Southeastern, 26 rushing attempts, 3.4 per carry. Penalties, 5 for 55 yards for the Lions, 7 for 50 yards for the Tigers. Neither team turned the ball over. Third downs, LSU was a very efficient 9 of 14 and went 3 for 3 on fourth down. Southeastern was 1 for 10 on third down and 0 for 1 on fourth down. LSU had the ball for 34-44, and the Lions had it for 25-16. Here's your individual numbers. Carson Camp, 8 of 13 for 87 yards and a touchdown for Southeastern. Kyle Lowe, 3 of 8 for 29 yards. Garrett Nussmeier, 25 of 31, 273, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions, 8.8. That's a very healthy average per attempt, and I think that might be his highest of the year. Michael Van Buren, really nice game here. 10 of 12, 122 yards, 10.2 yards per attempt. He threw a touchdown and no picks. Leading rushers tonight, Juwan Johnson for LSU, 8 carries for 43 yards. He scored twice. Harlem Berry and Caden Durham each had 7 carries. Berry had 28 yards. Durham had 17. Van Buren, 4 carries for 16 yards and a touchdown. Nussmeier, 5 carries for 10 yards and a touchdown. That is taking the sacks out. Calvin Smith, 2 carries for 40 yards for Southeastern. Receiving, Bauer Sharp and Barry and Brown each had 5 catches tonight, and each of them had a touchdown. 73 yards for Sharp, 54 yards for Brown. Kyle Parker got into the game, 4 catches, 52 yards, and a touchdown. Aaron Anderson, Caleb Jackson, each with 3 catches. Caden Durham also with 3 catches tonight for LSU. And Xavier Thomas had a touchdown catch among his 2 catches for 26 yards. DeAndre Jackson, 3 catches for 36 yards and the 1 touchdown for Southeastern. The defense, obviously LSU played a lot of people tonight, so the leading tackler for LSU tonight only had 4 tackles total, and that was Deshaun Spears. LSU finished with 7 tackles for loss and 4 sacks. They also had 5 passes defense tonight. Leading tackler for Southeastern, KK Reno, which is a really cool name. 14 tackles tonight, including a half a tackle for a loss. Southeastern had 5 tackles for loss and 2 sacks. They also had 4 passes defense. And that is your yardstick. Where's my punter? Chadwick, 2 punts, 49.5 yard average, 1 inside the 20. Alex Marler, 6 punts for a 41.8 yard average and 1 inside the 20. So that is your yardstick. We'll take a break. We'll come back and get you caught up on everything that happened today in a very eventful day in college football. That is next. Eagle 98.1 Game Day.
Eagle 98.1 Game Day. The Robinson Brothers Ford Lincoln College Football Scoreboard. Robinson Brothers Ford Lincoln on airline under the giant American flag.
It's all right. It's all right. We knew what you meant. Games in progress. Number 25 USC leads Michigan State 31-17 late third quarter at the Mausoleum. Out on the island, Hawaii leads Fresno State 9-7. 5 minutes gone in the third quarter there. Everybody else is done. A couple of these just went final. Give you those first. Colorado beat Wyoming 37-20. 2-2 on the season. Caden Salter back in the starting lineup for Colorado, threw for 304 yards and 3 touchdowns. And San Diego State blanked Cal 34-0. This hurts my heart, man. Jaron Kiawe Sangapulatelli did not have a good game. The freshman lefty out of Cal, who's off to the great start, threw 17 of 38. He had 2 interceptions and no touchdowns tonight, and they got shut out. What a bummer. Earlier today, number 4 Miami beat Florida 26-7. Carson Beck, an off night. That Florida defense is for real. 160 yards and an interception. Rich, I said at the beginning of the day, if Florida got blown out, that there was a chance they'd let Napier go tomorrow. I said, look, 3 touchdowns, 3 or 4 touchdowns. Well, technically they lost by almost that, but this didn't feel like a blowout. This was 13-7 going to the fourth quarter. I think he hangs. I think he's still there.
He's got another week or 2.
Yeah, because the spitting incident, the coach, the fight.
They played Texas and Texas A&M in the next 2 games,
but they have a bye.
Okay.
So I thought, well, if they had gotten routed tonight, then you have the off week to kind of get everything together. But I think they kept it close tonight. Maybe the score looks a little worse. They were in this game despite that. 1 first down in the first half.
Yeah.
And 7 for the game. That Miami offense is pretty good, and Florida defense did the job until they finally ran out of gas.
You don't want to go into an interim coach with Texas and Texas A&M. They might delay it a little bit longer.
Pick your poison.
Yeah.
I mean, good luck with that. Number 6, Oregon beat Oregon State 41-7. Dante Moore threw for 305 yards and 4 touchdowns. They headed to Penn State next week. That'll be the biggest game on the slate next week. Number 7, Florida State bombed Kent State 66-10. Tommy Castellanos, 205 yards and an interception. Number 8, Texas shut out Sam Houston 55-0. Arch Manning threw for 309 and 3 touchdowns. One of the big shockers of the day to me, the margin in this game between Indiana and Illinois, who both came in at 3-0. Number 19, Hoosiers beat the number 9 Illini 63-10. I thought that this would be a much closer game. Fernando Mendoza for Indiana threw for 267 yards and 5 touchdown passes. Number 11, Oklahoma beat Auburn 24-17. Auburn also got an apology after the game.
Yeah.
You saw the touchdown pass that Oklahoma threw where the receiver was standing on the sideline, called basically a hideout.
Play.
This is against the rules now. You cannot be deceptive where player looks like he's going off the field.
How long has it been against the rules?
That's a good question.
Yeah.
I don't know. And the reason I know that it's a rule is because the league put out a statement and said our referee screwed up. not only should the touchdown not have counted, it should have been an unsportsmanlike conduct on Oklahoma, and they should have backed them up 15 yards. So this was kind of a big deal.
When you lose by a touchdown.
Yeah, John Mateer threw for 271 yards and a touchdown, and Oklahoma set a school record for sacks in a game with 10. The last one, fittingly, to essentially end the game, came in the end zone for a safety, which did not go unnoticed in the sports books around America, I promise you. Number 13, Ole Miss beat Tulane 45-10. We told you about Trinidad Chambliss, 307 yards, 2 touchdowns through the air, 14 carries and 112 yards on the ground. Number 15, Tennessee beat UAB 56-24. Number 17, Texas Tech beat number 16, Utah 34-10. Texas Tech with 24 points in the fourth quarter to break open what was a close game through 3 quarters. Number 18, Georgia Tech goes to 4-0. They beat Temple 45-24. Haynes King threw for 2 touchdown passes, and I believe he ran for 1 as well. Number 20, Vanderbilt goes to 4-0. You heard that in your lifetime?
No.
Yeah, it's been a minute. They beat Georgia State 70-21. Ain't gonna be no easy game when LSU goes up there, no. Not easy at all. Number 21, Michigan beat Nebraska 32-27. Number 23, Missouri beat South Carolina 29-20. Lenora Sellers did play in this game for South Carolina. In fact, he threw for 302 yards and 2 touchdowns. But the story of the night was the rushing attack for Missouri. They outrushed South Carolina 278-7. They were led by Ahmad Hardy. He ran for 138 yards and a touchdown. Number 24, Notre Dame played the bully today. They get their first win of the season, 56-30 over Purdue. Memphis came from 18 down to beat Arkansas 32-31. Sutton Smith ran for 147 yards and a touchdown for the Tigers, who go to 4-0.
Oh, how about Arkansas fumbling at the goal line right at the close of the game?
They lost this game despite the fact they went up and down the field. The big offense, not in the fourth quarter though.
Yeah.
But big offensive game. Taylor Green threw for 325 yards, and they lose the game by a point. Maryland beat Wisconsin 27-10. It was Syracuse over Clemson. We talked about that game 34-21. This despite 363 yards and 3 touchdowns from Cade Klubnik. Virginia Tech gets their first win of the season under an interim coach. They beat Wofford 38-6. TCU stays unbeaten. They beat SMU 35-24. Louisville over Bowling Green 40-17. UNLV over Miami of Ohio 41-38. They kick a field goal with under 20 seconds to go. They scored 17 unanswered points in the fourth quarter to come from behind. North Texas beat Army 45-38. That game was in overtime. South Florida beat South Carolina State 63-14. Central Michigan over Wagner 49-10. UCF over North Carolina 34-9. UConn over Ball State 31-25. James Madison over Liberty 31-13. Eastern Michigan a late field goal to beat UL Lafayette 34-31. Troy beat Buffalo 21-17. It was Western Michigan over Toledo by a point 14-13. Ohio beats Gardner-Webb 52-35. Duke over NC State in a high-scoring game 45-33. This despite the fact that C.J. Bailey threw for 364 yards and 2 touchdowns in a losing effort. Mississippi State goes to 4-0. They beat Northern Illinois 38-10. What kind of parlay could I've gotten back in August that Vanderbilt and Mississippi State both opened 4-0?
Pretty
I
good
get
money.
pretty good odds, I would have said. San Jose State beat Idaho 31-28. Kansas beat West Virginia 41-10 to go to 3-1 on the season. Jalen Daniels threw 3 touchdown passes. West Virginia with the field rush last week to beat Pitt. How did we not play against them on the letdown?
Play the field rush.
Come on, field rush fade. What were we thinking? Delaware beat Florida International 38-16. It was Kennesaw State over Arkansas State 28-21. Akron beat Duquesne 51-7. Jacksonville State over Murray State 45-10. Marshall over Middle Tennessee 42-28. Missouri State beat UT Martin 42-10. Western Kentucky over Nevada 31-16. Boise State beat Air Force 49-37. Georgia Southern over Maine 45-17. Coastal Carolina beat South Alabama 38-20. Washington wins the Apple Cup 59-24. In that game, DeMond Williams Jr. threw for 298 yards and 4 touchdowns, ran for 88 yards and a score. Virginia goes to 3-1. They beat Stanford 48-20. Arizona State, a late field goal. They beat Baylor 27-24, despite 3 touchdowns from Baylor quarterback Sawyer Robertson. BYU beat East Carolina 34-13. It was La Tech over Southern Miss 30-20. Utah State beat McNeese 48-7. Texas State over Nichols 35-3. UL Monroe beat UTEP 31-25, and UTSA over Colorado State 17-16, and that is your college football scoreboard. Game balls are next. Eagle 98.1 Game Day.
Eagle 98.1 Game Day, presented by Super Chevy in Yingling. Game balls.
All right, go ahead.
Good game for the tight ends. I'm giving them Bauer Sharp the game ball.
Biased.
Nice game. I think, he had 70 yards receiving.
5
touchdown.
catches, 73 yards, and a touchdown.
Look, if you add the tight ends together, you're at over 113 maybe.
That's exactly. Donovan Green had 2 catches for 40 yards.
So I'm going to give it to Bauer Sharp, but I'm giving it to the tight ends. And I'm going to give it to Deshaun Spears on defense. 2 back-to-back weeks where he made great plays, led the team in tackles tonight.
By the way, since you're talking about tight ends, Trey'Dez Green did go through warm-ups. He went back to the locker room and came back out in sweats, but he was out there. Yeah. So encouraging to see.
It's an MCL. I mean, that's an injury I had where I went through warm-ups. It's something that you can guide yourself through. I think he's close.
Garrett Nussmeier gets my game ball tonight. 273 yards and 3 touchdowns, no interceptions, but he also had 5 carries. His longest carry of his LSU career, 26 yards, and he had a rushing touchdown. Mostly, the only thing I really wanted to see in this game that I absolutely wanted this to watch Garrett Nussmeier play and have him be healthy. Past that, everything else was gravy. When I saw him let it rip, throw the ball down the field, and run.
The longest rush for the team tonight.
Yeah, it's like, okay, he's good. We may move on now. No. So Garrett Nussmeier gets the game ball. And Juwan Johnson, 8 carries, 43 yards, 2 touchdowns. Runs strong, doesn't he?
He's shifty. I mean,
he's not the biggest guy in the world, but he runs strong, man.
He's got the touchdown record for Louisiana high school. He knows what to do with the ball in his hand.
He reminds me a little bit of Chiron Carey. Chiron Carey was maybe a little bit thicker by the time he started playing. Juwan Johnson's a little bit taller than him. Carey was short, but Carey had unbelievable moves. It was like he had eyes in the back of his head. But when he got to college and he started at Tennessee before he came to LSU, he became a really powerful runner. In between the tackles, which I wasn't expecting from him. And that game against Georgia in 2003, the day game, plays a big role in LSU's win that day.
Juwan Johnson reminds me more like a Richard Murphy, taller, leaner guy. He's got some power to him, but shifty.
Another number 18.
Yeah,
Richard Murphy. All right, we'll come back and wrap things up. LSU wins it 56-10. This is Eagle 98.1 Game Day. LSU takes care of business tonight by a score of 56-10. Here is your schedule for the week. Brian Kelly press conference as a part of Live at Lunch. You can hear it on ESPN Radio here in Baton Rouge on Monday at noon. And then the coach's show on Thursday night for TJ Ribbs at 7 o'clock. Next week, 9:30 pregame start for Eagle 98.1 Game Day. 2:30 kickoff for LSU and Ole Miss. And then we'll be back 90 minutes after the game to do post-game as LSU travels up to Oxford in what should be a really entertaining game and a very important one for LSU. Final score, once again, LSU wins it by a score of 56-10. From all of us here at the flagship, I'm Charles Hanniger saying thank you and good morning. Enjoy your Sunday. This has been Eagle 98.1 Game Day.